I think we're ready. Hello and welcome to Bloomberg. My name is Jeffrey Lexstein, Managing Director of Bloomberg Australia. We are delighted to be hosting the World Bank and the George Institute today for this special event. On behalf of Bloomberg globally, I would like to extend a warm welcome to President Kim, who is in Sydney today ahead of his attendance at the G20 meeting in Cairns. I will now hand over to the event moderator, Professor Vlad Perkovic, Executive Director of the George Institute for Global Health. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And President Kim, distinguished guests, my name's Vlado Perkovic. It's my great honour to welcome you here today for this conversation with World Bank Group President Yong Kim. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. We'd also like to acknowledge the magnificent facilities and the kind generosity of Bloomberg LP for supporting this event on the eve of the G20. President Kim, thank you very much for joining us. We're greatly honoured by you coming to talk to us today. As the President of the World Bank, you're at the very cutting edge of some of the toughest development and economic challenges facing the world. You lead a global organisation that takes you to virtually every country in the world, and you have insights at a depth that's unusual and that we look forward to hearing a bit about today. We don't have much time, so we might get straight into some questions, if that's okay. Firstly, you're here, of course, to attend the G20 Finance Minister meeting in Cairns. And we've heard a lot about the growth agenda of the G20, but I'm sure we'd be keen to hear your take on the global economy today and the economic climate within which the G20 is trying to boost growth.
Right. Well, first of all, it's great to be here. It's actually my first visit to Australia, and so I'm very thrilled to be here. It's another disappointing year. So at one point, our growth projections were as high as 3.2% for globally, and now they're around 2.7%. And so if you look across the world, the United States is doing well. The growth seems to be continuing, and most of the numbers, employment numbers, et cetera, look pretty good. There are still lots of concerns in Europe, and I don't think we know the outcome of the Scottish referendum yet today, but there's some good news. The southern European countries seem to be stabilizing, but still there are lots of challenges. I mean, I think there's concerns about deflation, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Some of the uncertainty in Europe, of course, is related to the crisis in the Ukraine and Russia. And so far, the impact of that crisis has been on the lower end of what our expectations are. But if it gets worse, if the tensions get worse, the impact could be much, much greater. The Japanese have been making tremendous efforts to get back on the path of growth. Prime Minister Abe has shot his first 2 arrows and is attempting to shoot the 3rd arrow. But we're still not sure. We're not sure if that 3rd arrow in fact will land, and Japanese growth will get to where everyone is hoping. So it's still a lot of uncertainty. A lot of middle-income countries. Brazil is slowing down. China seems to be stable at about 7.5%. And the good news in China is that while growth in China is still quite a bit lower than what they were used to, sort of 10% growth rates year on year, the leaders still seem to be very focused on the reforms. So a disappointing year, but not a disastrous year. And in that context, we're very grateful to the Australian leaders for bringing the focus to growth. So at this meeting, what we're going to do is sit down and say, okay, if we want 2% growth in the world, here are all the things that all the G20 members have to do to get there. And so that's what we'll talk about. We'll talk about whether what the G20 members are doing and their specific efforts. And I think right now, if you put all the efforts on the table, the IMF and OECD have suggested that we're at about 1.6% growth. So there's still more work to do. I think the G20 has proven to be very useful, to be a forum where we know that everyone's going to be held accountable. You have to come and you have to say what you're actually going to do. So we're looking forward to hearing what the countries will bring to the table tomorrow.